Hey everyone. So I wanted to talk about a little something I've been thinking about. So COVID-19 has obviously shut down movie theaters, as well as many other things, and because of this, a lot of studios have delayed a number of their bigger releases. But there's been a handful that they've just been dumping to VOD pretty early. Now, this includes the movies that already did get a couple weeks to play in the theaters before. So, like Invisible Man, Onward went almost directly to Disney Plus at this point. The Hunt, I was able to see that the one weekend it was open before it went to VOD, and some other stuff like that. And then there are the movies that didn't get a chance to get a release in theaters, and they're going to video on demand or some sort of streaming service directly. So that includes Universal released Trolls World Tour. That was sort of like, I guess, the biggest quote-unquote movie, even though it's just kind of an animated sequel to an animated movie that wasn't very good in the first place. Never saw it, but I did have to walk into it when I was still working at the movie theater, and it looked horrible. Plus I had to hear that horrible Justin Timberlake song in the lobby like every 5 minutes. Can't stop the feeling! And they had the trolls on the fucking popcorn bags and everything. But so that went. And then the Kumail Nanjiani movie, The Lovebirds, that I'd wanted to see, that's going directly to Netflix. The Artemis Fowl movie that Disney was making that had a hot mess of a trailer and apparently ignores the books. Not that I was a fan, I've never read the books or anything, but I know people who are, and they're very pissed off at that trailer. Dumping that directly to Disney+, Scoob. So the pattern I was originally seeing is that the studios were willing to take family films and dump them onto VOD, as opposed to delaying their opening or pushing them back or whatever. And I sort of understood that, because even if they're charging the premium of, I think, $19.99 to rent some of these movies, if you take a family of 4, or even just, let's just say you're just taking you and a child to the movies, a young child usually cannot sit still for 90 to 120 minutes, or, well, kids movie, let's say 74 to 90 minutes, without stuffing their face full of candy and popcorn and everything. So you're already spending an adult ticket, a child ticket, and whatever concessions, because you're not skipping concessions when you have your child. So considering all of that, and if you have multiple kids, don't even start it, it's going to be significantly more than $20 to see whatever this family piece of crap is that's not Pixar. So it makes sense that someone would be willing to pay $20 to rent it for 48 hours and then sit all their kids in front of it and, you know, just make popcorn at home. It's a lot cheaper in the long run, so that sort of premium price for one movie. I would have trouble paying that to rent a movie on VOD, just because that's the same price I pay to go see a movie a day for a month with the Alamo subscription plan. Now, if movie subscription plans weren't a thing, but now most of the chains do, is the one positive thing that MoviePass brought is that the subscription plan for frequent moviegoers can make it affordable. And especially after, you know, I quit the theater and couldn't see any free movies anymore for a while, it was nice to roll into something that was saving me money and still feeding my movie-going addiction, which jonesing right now, man. Movies aren't going to be open for a while. But, so it made sense to make the children's movies pushed out for that. But I was wondering, you know, are we going to start seeing higher profile films made for an adult audience, and I don't mean porn, but an adult audience to just bypass theaters completely or not? Because most of what's been dumped there, like Lovebirds, whatever, it was a comedy. Kumail Nanjiani, you know, he got an Oscar nom for The Big Sick, a very good movie. He's going to be in a Marvel movie whenever they pushed Eternals back to. But he's not a huge box office draw, so it made sense to push a comedy to Netflix where comedies can do well, as opposed to, you know, what was the last straight ahead, nothing else comedy that did okay at the box office? Was it Tag? I don't even know. It's just people aren't paying to go see a comedy on the big screen now. So that made sense, but I was wondering, like, what about Oscar stuff? And I had to look this up, what the rule was, because sometimes they change it. The rule of the last Oscars, and they can still update this at some point, was that to be eligible for award consideration, a film must have a minimum 7-day theatrical run in Los Angeles County, with at least 3 screenings per day for paid admission. So basically, it needs to at least play for a week in a theater in Los Angeles that are open to the public for pay, so it can't just screen it like a studio lot or whatever. I don't know if they're going to change that for 2020, though. Because, you know, it seems like right now, almost every movie is pushed back up until July. And then there's 2 bigger movies that's still set for July. There's Mulan, which was supposed to open in April, I think, either late March or early April. So there's that. They pushed that to July. And the other big one, and the big one everyone's kind of in Hollywood is hanging their hopes on, is Tenet, the Christopher Nolan film, which, you know, it's going to be screening in IMAX, or was going to be screening in IMAX. It was going to have some 35mm ones I was looking forward to, 70mm for theaters that have that. So right now, the theater industry is sort of like sitting on pins and needles. Like the most optimistic of them, and I think AMC had like a conference call that leaked or whatever, and they were hoping to reopen in late June, play some library back catalog titles just to get them going, and then have Tenet come in as the blockbuster that saves the movie industry for the rest of the year. Don't know how realistic that is yet, though. I mean, we have some states, like Georgia, that are reopening, even though they probably shouldn't be yet. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But that's kind of what they're hoping. Like, the best case scenario is they're saying July that they'd be reopening for Tenet. But let's say it doesn't. I'm kind of wondering what next year's Oscar is going to look like if it has the requirement that you play, unless they change that. Now, the thing that really made me think of it today, and I don't know when this video will go up, but today I just saw Judd Apatow's new film, The King of Staten Island, I think it's called, starring Pete Davidson, is just going to, they're dumping it direct to VOD in the middle of June. Now, I texted my friend Andrew immediately when I saw this, because we usually text each other back and forth the different movie closings and delays and stuff when they happen, because we worked at the theater together. He's as big a movie fan as I am. And he was saying, like, I didn't expect that movie to do much box office anyway. But I wasn't sure. Like, I wasn't sure if this was the kind of movie that they were going to try for an Oscar nomination for Pete Davidson. I mean, having no knowledge of what the movie's quality is or anything, I just know it's loosely based on Pete Davidson's actual life. And I saw Pete Davidson in that Big Time Adolescence movie that went to Hulu. It was going to play at Alamo for a week before Hulu, but they dumped it to Hulu early and the theaters were closed at that point. But that was a really good coming-of-age movie. And I kinda like Pete Davidson. I watched his new Netflix special. It's pretty funny. He hasn't always been the best on SNL, but for the 2 crappy SNL at Home episodes they've had, his pre-recorded like raps have been like the funniest thing about it, where he made fun of Drake and everything. Fucking hate Drake. So I was thinking, man, maybe if he shows his dramatic chops in this movie, they might want to go for a one-off on him, you know? But yeah, I liked him. I mean, yeah, I guess he had the thing where he dated Ariana Grande. I'm not an Ariana Grande fan, but my fiance loves her. I think she has a good voice, but her songs are terrible and she needs someone else to write them. Like, if you put her voice and had her sing something that wasn't what she's singing, like that Seven Rings crap, much better. But anyway, so, like, aside from being part, like, one half of the tabloid thing or whatever, I think the guy's got some talent behind him. If he actually can stretch, maybe they would want to push him for an Oscar for this movie. Don't know. But if they keep the eligibility guidelines like that, that's not going to be possible. And this might not affect most movies, because most Oscar movies, or movies that the studios think could get them an Oscar, and thus more revenue in the end, they're going to release between the windows of September and January, basically. So, not to say that movies released earlier in the year don't pick up any traction, it's just less likely. I mean, there's obviously exceptions. Silence of the Lambs won Best Picture in 91, 92, and that was released in February. Gladiator, which, by the way, Gladiator did not hold up very well, and my opinion still remains the same, that Traffic should have won Best Picture that year, but that came out first weekend of May, summer movie season in the year 2000, still won Best Picture. Weak year for movies, but Traffic should have won. It's behind me there. Yeah, by the way, I decided to sit in front of my movie collection because change of scenery. I've had the vast majority of my recent videos have just been in my room there with me on my desk. Thought I'd change it up a bit. Because Lord knows YouTube needs more people sitting in front of their movie collections talking about movies. But, so I don't think if the movie theaters do open up before September, it might not affect the Oscars that much, and it's just anything that went VOD or didn't open in theaters prior in the year is just SOL. But if it goes longer, the Oscars are probably going to have to change the rules. Now, and I also don't know if just for this 1 year, anything that would be Oscar-worthy in some facet that had to go VOD, or didn't have to, but the studio chose to go, cut their losses financially, or they just thought it was a better plan, or more eyeballs glued if you can't go out and then leave the house and do anything, they figure it's just a better business decision. I don't know if they'll carve out an exception this year for that. And I guess there's a worry about a slippery slope there, though, because the Academy has been right there with the National Association of Theater Owners, the other NATO, with trying to keep that theatrical 3-month window between when a movie premieres and when it's allowed to go to some sort of digital or home video market. And now that studios are able to sort of cut through and bypass that because the theaters have no leverage right now, I'm not sure if the Academy would also want to kick the theaters once more in the grave. Because I know a lot of people don't like the theater experience. There's always the chance that assholes in the theater will ruin the experience for you. Even at Alamo, sometimes it happens, and I could put up my order card and try to throw them out, but the one time I tried that, they didn't do anything, and the one time my fiance tried that, they also didn't do anything, so I don't know. It's a little hit or miss, but most people who go to Alamo are at least kind of respectful of the no-talking rules, because it's kind of the big thing they put in front of every movie they show. So I understand that, and plus the price issue, but if you have the subscription plan, I mean, it's comparable to what you'd spend on a streaming service, maybe a little bit more. $20 a month is a little less than double what Netflix charges, and then some of the other ones, I know Disney Plus is like free if you have Verizon for like a year or something, and you know, there's some of the lower ones like CBS All Access and stuff are a lot cheaper, but you know, I just don't know if the Academy wants to carve that out, or if we're just going to treat COVID-19 in the film industry as the one-off and everything will go back to quote-unquote normal. I would like them to go back to quote-unquote normal because I prefer to see movies in the theater, even, you know, 2 Netflix movies last year, Irishman and Dolomite Is My Name. I went to go see it at Alamo because Alamo showed them, rather than wait to see them at Netflix, even though I already have a Netflix subscription, because A, I have the Alamo subscription too, so it doesn't cost me any extra money out of pocket than what I'm already paying for the subscription, except for the, you know, $1.39 service fee that they insist on charging per movie. And I'm gonna enjoy the movie more because, you know, I won't be tempted to walk to the kitchen or play on my phone or whatever. I'm just gonna be absorbed into the world of the movie, which is the best way to watch a movie, as opposed to sort of half listening to it in the background like it's a glorified audiobook. I fucking hate those people. So I don't know if that's going to happen. So, I mean, this might all be a moot point because maybe this Pete Davidson movie, maybe he's garbage in it, I don't know. Maybe it's just an okay Judd Apatow movie, like Funny People and 40-Year-Old Virgin. Maybe it's not, you know, the kind of dramedy that might garner that stuff, but I was kind of hearing rumblings from film festivals. Well, I think it was supposed to premiere at South by Southwest, and that obviously got canceled in Austin. But I think there was the idea that they were trying to at least push him for like a couple awards at the festival level and things like that, and now that's obviously by the wayside. So I'm just kind of wondering what's going to happen. I mean, look, nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, whenever the movie theaters reopen, that's when movies can start coming out. And then, I mean, a lot of it will depend on if the audience feels safe going to a movie theater, or if they're going to be terrified every time someone coughs, or if they still have to do like social distancing. Like prior to the movie theaters closing, they were kind of hoping like, oh, we'll just fill up 50% capacity, or we'll make sure there's 3 seats between each party or whatever, or they might try some stuff like that. But I mean, no one knows. I mean, maybe movie theaters will be open in June, or maybe they'll wait for July, or maybe Tenet will end up getting pushed back, and that'll be that's sort of the line they're trying to hold, like hold the line, and then it pushes back like a big wave, and then, you know, we're in the fall. Or maybe, I mean, the absolutely worst case scenario is that they don't reopen until there's a vaccine, which could be, what, 18 months or something crazy like that, or, you know, maybe there is no coronavirus immunity, and then everything's kind of fucked up forever. I don't know. I laugh because I'm scared, but I'm laughing at my own jokes because, you know, why not? I'm stuck in quarantine. So I don't know. But you know, if you're watching this video where I've been babbling on for 15 minutes, leave a comment below. What do you think's going to happen as far as the Oscars? Obviously, there's way more important things than what's going to happen in, you know, the 2021 Oscars about this year. All we know is that the in memoriam is going to be pretty lengthy because, you know, a lot of older people who have worked in the industry have passed away from COVID. It's been all over the media news. A lot of people in the New York theater scene and things like that. So it's going to be rough. But not sure. And I also don't know how this VOD stuff is going to do. I mean, it looks like I mean, we don't have hard data from it, but it looks like Trolls made like 100 million in 2 weeks, potentially, which is probably more than it would have made theatrically, because it fucking Trolls too. But I don't know what's going to happen with that, and I don't know if, you know, The Hunt... I mean, Invisible Man already made enough money, because it was released in February, so it probably... This is just icing on the cake for that. But I don't know if Onward and The Hunt and some of those other movies made enough from their VOD to make up for what they lost for not having a full-on theatrical run. I mean, The Hunt didn't really do well anyway when it opened, but that was also the first weekend that COVID-19 started to pick up critical mass in the US, which is why it was the last weekend the theater was open. It was the second to last movie I saw in the theater before the theaters closed. The last was a day later when I saw Extraordinary on March 14th. And that's the last movie I've seen in a theater. And we're now at April, 27th? Yeah, I'm kind of going crazy. But, as you can see, I have plenty of movies there. I've been making my way through some unwatched blind buys that I haven't had a chance to watch yet, and just trying to stay sane. But the state of the movie industry as it is right now, I'm still following that with bated breath, because I'm interested, confused, scared, not sure where that's going to go, and because it's something I can focus on that's not, you know, everything else that's sort of more important in the world. So, but yeah, if you have any thoughts or theories about what's going to happen with all of this stuff, the movies going to VOD, the Oscars, box office, how it's going to affect the theatrical experience moving forward, if the audiences won't show up, if it'll go back to normal, I don't know, leave your thoughts below. Crowdsourcing, wondering what everyone's thinking, I don't know. Yeah, I've rambled on enough on this topic, though.